In this episode, I'll dive into some statistics and perform an autopsy on the Sunshine Coast's underwhelming spring real estate market. April saw a notable uptick in listings across all property types, with sales prices trending downward. Sunshine Coast sellers need to adjust to this new reality if they're eager to sell. Sales of detached homes dropped nearly 20% year over year, and the benchmark prices dropped 5.6%. Active listings climbed 12.4%. The shift in the condo market was even more pronounced. Active listings were up 48%, and the average days on market jumped 725%. The benchmark price for condos is down 4.5% year over year. Townhouses are not immune to the undulations in the local real estate market. The number of active listings was up 21%, sales were down 43%, and the average days on market was up nearly 300%. We saw townhouse prices fall 3.8% compared to April of 2024.
Those statistics make it sound like there wasn't much of a spring real estate market, and I'm wondering how you would describe the current state of the Sunshine Coast market.
I describe it as spring never sprung in real estate on the coast here. It's a buyer's market. It's been a buyer's market for a while. Active listings continue to build. It's a bleak time for an unmotivated seller, someone testing the water. It's not really time to do that. To sell a house now, you've got to price it sharply and make sure that you are accommodating to showings and, put your best foot forward, get it ready. But, right now I wouldn't recommend doing any major renovations, that type of stuff, because you're not really going to get that back, especially if, the market continues to soften and you end up spending some money and chasing the market down.
Am I wrong in assuming that there's a bit of a battle of the wills between buyers and sellers right now? That sellers are really fixated on the price that they want to get, and buyers are really adamant that they're only going to pay the price they want to pay, and there's a big gulf between those two numbers right now?
Yeah, we are seeing quite a lot of lowball offers. They're speculative investors or people that are looking to take advantage of a soft market. There are quite a few homes for sale at the moment on the Sunshine Coast where the sellers got into the market during COVID. They had a great interest rate. It was convenient for them to be able to get away from the city. Then, they ended up moving back to the city, but they kept the property and used it as an Airbnb. And then those rules changed, province-wide and specifically in Sechelt. Now they find themselves, holding onto a house that's, they paid $200,000 more than it's worth now for. They've got to renew their interest rate, so they're going to have to take a haircut to sell that. That's a type of property where, a lowballer might take a crack at it. But we're seeing across all property types, lowball offers. There's a lot of subject to sale offers out there, which, depending on your philosophy on that, it's not a really strong offer to be able to sell your house dependent upon someone else selling their house. You have no control over what they're doing. So if they're not that motivated, that can affect you. So, cash is king as buyers, someone that first-time buyers who are flexible on their move-in dates, buyers that, are cash buyers, they don't need any sort of mortgage financing on there. They're out there and, they are pretty sharp, hawkish, I guess, on their offers, and you were seeing a lot of that. And, being in the real estate market, you look back and you think, I used to have pity the fool. I feel bad because, I carry a lot of listings, and then you'd be buyers coming in and, there'd be a stack of offers sitting in front of you and you're like, oh, it sucks to be a buyer.
Yeah.
But now, the shoe's on the other foot, and there's sellers sitting there with, with buyers having a lot of choice and taking their time, and, all the unrest south of the border and, tariffs and, the downturn in the Canadian economy that's predicted to come, be in a recession or whatever in the next quarter. People are, insecure, let's say, in what's going to happen and pulling back on expenses, I think.
When you were going through the numbers at the start, it sounded like listings are way up, sales are down, prices are down. But one number that kind of jumped out at me is that year over year, condos actually saw just about a 17% increase in sale, with all the other stats down. How do you interpret that anomaly in the stats?
Well, on the Sunshine Coast, it's such a small percentage of all the property types are condos. I'd attest that to probably, they're higher density. Obviously, they need different zoning. We're the second oldest demographic in BC, so there isn't a lot of appetite to increase density here. And it's hard to get condos built. So because it's such a small segment of the market, 4 or 5 extra sales could show a huge uptick. You know what I mean? It's not like we have a huge cross section like you would in Vancouver, so to speak. So I think that's probably Why?
So if number of sales is not a good metric, is there a better metric to gauge the strength of like condo market and I guess the townhouse market as well?
Yeah, I'd say probably number of listings and then look at the days on market that you've had there. So that would be the two metrics, I guess, that would be a better indicator of what's going on there than the amount of sales that have happened.
Do you think that this adjustment will continue out for the rest of the year? Like, are we going to see sales continue to slow and prices
I think it's going to be soft. So I mean, I'm optimistic that I think the Bank of Canada is going to hold rates on June 4th. This will be out after that, so we'll see if we're right or not. You can edit it the other way as well, right?
Yeah, you give me both.
Yeah,
I knew they were going to go up.
I knew they were going to go up. Yeah. I knew they were going to take them down again. That's why I told you that they'd say together. Yeah. Anyway, so I'm going to see that. I'm optimistic that we see. They'll hold the base rate, the current interest rate. They'll hold that. I'm hoping that the Supreme Court in the States shuts down the tariffs and that Trump abides by that. I mean, the odds of that's probably pretty low, but being optimistic. And then I think that what we could see after, the first week of June is buyers realise, because I honestly think this is true, you're at the best possible time to buy now. If you've been sitting on the fence, I know we said this 6 months ago, we were wrong then, but now for sure this is the time. Now's the time. And have I got some sweet deals for you? No, but so I'd argue that after the 4th of June, 5th of June, we should see a bit of a rally in the market here, and it will probably go until the end of July. After that time, I think it's going to be
pretty quiet
until next spring, depending on what happens in the meantime. But traditionally, once you get through that summer, you'll have a little bit of a rally in the fall, and then it's quiet, until March kind of thing. So
when we take those the statistics at the start into consideration, we take our new government into consideration, we take the Americans doing what the Americans are doing in consideration. What is your advice for sellers that maybe have their house sitting on the property longer than they thought it would have sat on the property?
Yeah, you just need to, talk to your realtor, get some updated stats, because quite often what happens is a realtor will come into a listing presentation and, if they're in my opinion, doing their job, they're going to give you a little bit of an education on what's going on with your property type. They're going to recommend a sale price. You're going to probably argue with that and want it a bit more, and they're going to try to convince you not to leave room for negotiation. You'll end up somewhere in the middle. If your property's been sitting on the market for 3 months, I mean, you can't believe that the market's better now than it was 3 months ago. So if you listed your house at a price 3 months ago and it hasn't had any action on it, and you are a motivated seller, so the property's costing you money, or you need to sell that to buy something else, or whatever it is that's motivating you to put a for sale sign in the ground, you're going to need to adjust to where the market's at now. And if your property's sitting there and you really want to sell, rather than yelling at your realtor and, trying to tell them that you're going to hire someone else because they're going to, do better or whatever, it's price. There's two things that sell property. One's exposure. So if you're getting exposure, if you've got good photos and your marketing's there and, it's being promoted, and the realtor's doing their job in that department, then the other part of that equation is is up to you, and you need to adjust that price. And if you can't sell it for the market value, you should take it off the market, because now's not the time to hope for some uneducated buyer to come along and pay over market value, because it's statistically not going to happen. And we're all about stats today.
Something I've always thought about price, you can tell me if I'm wrong with this, is that there's basically 3 levels to pricing. That if a home goes on the market at whatever the price is at X, and it doesn't get any calls, any viewings, anything, the price is too high. The market is telling you the price is too high. If the price comes down and you start to get viewings and interest, but there's no offers, then the property is leaving something to be desired from the people that see it. So you're getting close on price, but you're not there yet. But then if you lower it again and you start to have people say, oh, okay, I'll put an offer in, then you're probably pretty close to where it should be. Does that sound like that could be accurate in this market right now?
For me, if I'm getting showing, so if we've got listings out there and people are coming to see them and give them positive feedback, it's hard to, drop the price too much, because the median days on market or the average days on market for all homes is now 2 months. Okay. So you got to think you're getting 4 or 5 showings a month, you're getting 10 showings. So if we were to look at it a different way and say instead of days on market, showings for offer, You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, what is it now? I'm seeing 15 showings. You should probably get an offer in that.
Okay.
So if I've got a house on the market and it's at a price and it's getting, 7 showings a month, I know statistically it's going to sell probably in the next month. But if you're at a spot where no one's even asking to come see it,
yeah.
But that's also tricky because different home value segments, right, have gone quiet. So it seems like anything over, there's properties over 2.5 million, like waterfront stuff. Those buyers are out there going, well, it's the best time I'm going to get to buy one of these.
Okay.
I'm financially secure. I don't need a mortgage. Those ones are selling. Then any home, I'll talk specifically in Gibsons, any home listed for under 800,000, like detached home, non-strata, for under 800,000, that's full on. Lots of people looking for that type of thing. And I think that's just, with the adjustments in interest rates over the last few years, we did a whole episode on this. People don't qualify for the same amount. And so, it's more active in different sections. And then you've got the $1.2 million to $2 million range, right? That seems to be kind of the slowest, the most discrepancy in what people see their home values as.
Okay.
And so that's the area where I think what you said is probably more accurate. If you're in that section where you've got pricing and the odd showing in there, if you actually want to sell, you need to kind of look back 3 years and say, well, pre-COVID, what would this have been worth? Price it there, and then, then that's when it's probably going to sell. The problem with that, though, is, most people use a little bit of the equity in the house, either to do a reno or to go on a trip or to buy something or whatever. And then, all of a sudden, even though they bought it for 1 million, they owe 1.1 or whatever still on it. And so they end up a bit underwater there. This is meant to be a positive episode, Paul. Positive.
Well, okay. This would be a positive market for buyers, I'm assuming.
Yes.
So is this a good time for buyers to get into the market? Should they keep waiting?
I wouldn't wait anymore, no. I think, like we were talking about just a minute ago, it's the time is now. And the other thing is, but people don't realise, right? It's like, people get hung up on market value for this is, $1 million and they'll only take $1,050,000.
Yeah.
But you're going to be there for especially here, most of the people are retiring here, right? You're going to put sweat equity into it. You're going to probably renovate it. You're going to do all sorts of stuff to it. So really, if getting hung up on $50,000 or $25,000, I get as a buyer, you had a real tough time for the last 3 years. You've been forced into multiple offers. You've been, herded through with other fear of loss motivation all the time. People walking around in your face. You've got to write an offer. You've got to be subject free, all that. And now it's the pendulum swung the other way. But you still got to be reasonable. You're going to move into that place. It's going to appreciate in value. So, don't get too hung up. I hate it when I'll be working with a buyer and they'll be like, yeah. And I'll say, look, you're going to probably have to pay 1.2 for this. And they'll be like, yeah, but let's start at 1.13 or whatever. And I'm like, okay, but you're going to have to waive 1.2. And they'd write it, and then I go to the Realtor, they come back with a counter offer, and they go, no, it was a take it or leave it. One, you're kind of wasting your time. If you like the property, you're going to polarize them more in their position. So I think, being realistic, it is a great time to be a buyer. And, if you've been sitting there waiting for the perfect time, I think the time is nigh.
Would your advice for buyers then to be more focused on finding the right home than trying to buy at the absolute bottom of the market? Like you're saying, if you're going to buy a house and you're going to live in it for 5, 6, 7, maybe 10 years, when you look out 10 years from now, do you care that you paid 1% or 2% too much for it?
Absolutely not. It's balancing out now. Most of the homes that you buy right now are going to appreciate in value if you hold them for at least 3 years, because we're going to see the normal cycle on the coast and the stuff's going to start appreciating. Especially with, the Carney's policies for building, that premier meeting, we'll know again afterwards if that actually happens. You're going to see lots of investment in infrastructure. Obviously, we need to get building, due to the cost of property and the lack of available rentals and all the rest of that stuff. There needs to be some property produced. And I think that as that happens and as we just live our lives in the house that we've now bought, we're not going to be sweating 1% or 2%, more as a purchase price because there's so much more to buying a home than what it actually just costs you.
So if that's advice for buyers that are looking for kind of medium to long term to own, what would be your advice for somebody that's thinking prices are down? I'm going to buy something. I'm going to flip it in the next 6 months or the next year. Is this a good time for that?
Well, it's tough because, I mean, now you're paying 60% of any profit unless you live in it for 2 years, right? So, I mean, that applies on the coast. We're exempt from a lot of things, but not that one. So, I don't think it's a great time to be doing that. And plus, there's a lot safer places to put your money than buying in a down market, trying to flip a house. I think, now, and as a seller, you've got to realise that, right? Like the pool of buyers is smaller. The pool of buyers, knows that they have a lot of choice right now. So, yeah, I guess going back to what you said, there's 3 levels of pricing. 2 of them your house won't sell. One of them they will. So if you want to sell, then you've got to adjust it and get your showings and sell it. But, I think right now what you want to do is look at the average days on market, know that there's quite a bit of fluff out there. So if you halve that, so if it's 45 days on market and you're out there and you've got your place listed and you haven't had any action in 30 days, that's your come to Jesus moment. Do I actually want to sell? Am I going to do this or should I take it off the market? Because a lot of overpriced listings clogging up, the Sunshine Coast real estate market right now isn't helping anyone.
Tony.
Paul.
If buyers are out and about in June and they want some sensational listings.
Sensational. Oh, I've got 3.
I've got 3
gorgeous
Can you tell us
ones.
about that?
The first one's a Genos, but I won't say anything more. 732 Steinbrunner. It's a lovely, lovely home. I think it's 4 bed, 3 bath. A huge family room downstairs, lovely fireplace upstairs, massive deck, and lovely views out Salish Sea. It's the whole package. This one. Priced really well, lovely fenced garden, roughed in for a suite downstairs. So, you could always make it multi-generational if you wanted to. And that one's, on for 1.195. So it's fantastic home. And that's probably a really good one for people to check out if they're shopping in that, price point or that area. We also have 2 under 800,000. One of them's up in Sechelt. We just did a price reduction there. That's 5916 St Andrews Place. Beautiful little rancher, lovely floors throughout it. Big veggie gardens, kind of like a blank canvas for the landscaper to come in. It's got RV parking. It's a wonderful little neighbourhood, close to everything, close to the hockey rink, and ideal rancher, 1 level living there. So that one's a great one too.
And what's the price point on that one?
That one we just dropped down to $799. Probably won't even be here when this goes, where it's that good a deal. And then we also have 226 Pratt Road. So that one's a nice little rental unit for some sellers of mine. They're looking to do something else with money, so they're getting rid of that investment property. That one is 226 Pratt Road. So in the Cedar Grove catchments, right behind where the house is, you've got that Mahon Trail that goes down to Secret Beach, and you can go all the way up to the 101 up in Gibsons, staggering distance on the way home, sober yourself up a little bit. And that one's on for $749,000. You don't find a detached home in Gibsons for under $800,000, let alone under $750 very often. So that one I'm sure will be a hot one.
At $749,000, that's got to be one of the best values right now, I would think, for a house. You're getting into townhouse price right there at $750,000, so you're buying a single family home on a piece of land for $750,000.
And it's a big block as well. It's not a tiny little block. On that note, I had the one on Larchbury finally sold.
Oh, good.
That one on Larchbury is tough. It didn't have brand new windows, and it backed onto the highway there, so there was quite a bit of noise there. But a lovely young family picked that up. I think they're moving in a week or so, and they're going to renovate it and put some new windows in and love that one. For first-time home buyers or people that are living in condos, specifically, on the North Shore, North Vancouver, it's still a great opportunity over here to come and buy and get into a detached home and, raise your family and join the soccer club and all the rest of it. Thanks for watching, and if you haven't already, please consider subscribing. While you're here, maybe you want to check out one of my listings or watch my video about why you should choose me to sell your home.